All right, good evening, everyone. Before we get into our regular council agenda this evening, we do have both an annual general meeting as well as a regular quarterly meeting for the Fiddleville Nonprofit Housing Corporation board. So we'll start with the AGM agenda. Call that meeting to order at 6:30. We do have quorum. We're a little shorthanded tonight, but we do have quorum. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared by any member of the board before we get into the agenda? Okay. All right, can I have a motion then to approve the minutes from our last AGM held on July 8th, 2024? I've got Wagner, Otto. Any discussion on those? Favor? Here. All right, that takes us to the presentation of the audited financial statements. I see that Mr. Cole has joined us again this year. How are you, Ben?
Hi there, how are you?
Good, good. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, we'll take a few minutes and walk through your draft financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. My audit report was on page 2 and page 3. And there are no problems to report. It's an unqualified audit opinion, which means I was satisfied that your financial statements are fairly stated and include all the disclosures and notes information that are required under Canadian accounting standards for nonprofit organizations. It's dated today, assuming the board will approve these tonight. That's how audit reports are dated in Canada. They're dated to coincide with the date that the board approves the statements. Page 4 is where we get into the actual numbers, the balance sheet at December 31st. Now we'll just work from the top down, 99,700 in cash at December 31st. So you're in a good, healthy position in terms of your operating cash. Accounts receivable, 22,000. About half of that are rents outstanding. The other half is your HST rebate. So as a nonprofit, you get to recover most of the HST that you pay on your expenses. And that outstanding rebate was for the last 6 months of the year that has now been filed. Prepaid expenses of 19,000, that's your insurance. It's paid annually and it covers up to November 1st, 2025. And subsidy from the County of Dufferin, 31,000 for the month of December. That's what they owed you, but it doesn't hit your bank account until the first week of January. So at December 31st, it's owed to the corporation. The reserve fund investments are with World Source Financial. They were 122,000 at year end. The land in the building is steadily getting amortized or written down, and the accounting policy we have to follow is to write it down as you pay down the mortgage principal. So 307,000 is basically the same as the outstanding mortgage balance. And the mortgage is coming up pretty soon. I think June 1st, 2026 is your last mortgage payment. Liabilities, nothing really unusual this year. We had accounts payable in the general fund, 50,000. The mortgage payment for the month of December, 18,000. It comes out of the bank on the first day of January. Last month's rent deposits, 24,000. And subsidy payable to the county per the annual information return. We're estimating that you'll have to repay $27,000 of your 2024 subsidy. And I'll explain where that comes from when we look at your income statement. The mortgage, as I mentioned, the current portion, 214,000, that's what you're going to pay off during 2025. And the balance of 93,000 will get paid off in the first 6 months of 2026. If we turn the page to page 5, it discloses your fund balances. So your general fund or unrestricted fund started the year at 131,000, and we'll see on your income statement that we're running a surplus this year of another $12,290. So we're expecting at December 31st, you'll be at just under 144,000. of accumulated surplus. And the reserve fund activity down below. So that's the good news. You're in a good position with your operating fund. The reserve fund on this project and many others that we look at is the unfortunate news. They've never been really properly funded, so there's not much money in them. The activity for the year, we started out at $384. Your regular funding that's allocated to the reserve fund, $37,000. You made some investment income, $2,900. The COCHI funding, that's Canada Ontario Community Housing Initiative, I believe. Trevor's nodding, so I got it right. $30,000. The actual grant is for about $60,000. The other half is coming in 2025, and it's funding a number of projects. I think the main one that got completed in 2024 was new flooring in the hallways. And that's included in the capital expenditures of $41,000. So we're ending the year at $29,896. Page 6 is your income statement for 2024. The top two lines are always the rents. So the market rents were $203,000 and the rent geared to income tenants were charged $102,700. The targeted occupancy as set out by the county is to have 28 RGI tenants and 17 market tenants. And during 2024, you were right on target. You averaged out at 28 and 17. So really not a lot of change there on the revenues. The subsidy that the county sent, $372,000. Laundry, parking, and interest, $7,700, and the solar panels, $8,800, which was pretty stable from the year before. As I mentioned earlier, we're expecting you to have to repay $27,000 of subsidy, and I'll just take a moment and explain why. When the county calculated your subsidy entitlement, they actually used $90,000 as their estimate of RGI rents. You came in at $102,700. So because you exceeded their estimate, you have to repay the difference. And the other item that's flowing into that is down on municipal property taxes. Again, your budget was 85, but when they set your subsidy entitlement, they used an estimate of $90,000 for property taxes. And your tax expense came in about $12,000 lower than that. And so you're having to repay the difference on that line item as well. So the two combined are 24,000, and there are some other, factors with the rents that make it 27 in total. So we're expecting that they'll agree with that calculation when they review the annual information return. On expenses, not a lot of changes from the previous year, and they were pretty close to your budget numbers. No bad debt expense this year, so that's a welcome development. You had $6,000 the year before. The other noteworthy item, the interest on the long-term debt, of course, is declining every year, and it's only $12,000 this year because you're getting down to the end of the mortgage pretty soon. So total expenses were $655,000 on a budget of $644, so pretty close to the target, and actually about $11,000 lower than the year before. So you can see the very bottom line, a surplus for the year of $12,291. I'm not going to drag you through the rest of the document. There's no real changes in terms of the accounting policies that are used for social housing corporations. And no changes for your tax status either. You're still exempt from income tax as a nonprofit corporation. We have 2 tax returns that we have to file every year, which we include as part of the audit quote, but there's no income tax to pay. All right, I'll wrap up my remarks there. If there's any questions, we'll try and answer them.
motion then to approve the draft financial statements as presented by Vice Chair Hall, seconded by Wagner. Favor? Carried. All right, thanks, Ben.
Okay, thank you. Have a great night.
You too, enjoy the sunshine.
I'll try.
And Trevor, we just need to appoint an auditor for next year or for this year.
Yep.
2025. Okay. So somebody willing to put forward a motion to. I'll put forward a motion that we okay, moved by member Donato, is there a seconder for that? Wait. Favor. Okay. Anything else as far as the AGM goes, Trevor, or is that?
That's all.
Okay, all right, can I have a motion to adjourn the AGM? By all, seconded by. Wait a minute.
I'm gonna be all over it.
That's it. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, so we will call our regular quarterly board meeting to order at 6:41. Still have quorum. Any conflict of interest declarations on this one? Okay. Minutes from the January 27th and February 24th board meetings. Move for a seconder for those. Okay. Quicker. Any discussion on either set of minutes? Okay, all in favor? There we go. All right, Trevor, financial report.
Okay, we'll be pretty quick if you turn to page 8. Just the way this loaded, we have the income statement first, but I actually prefer it that way. I re-templated this just a little bit to make it a little clearer, hopefully. You'll see our rent, the budget was 68,300. We're at 69,400. On the variance column there, I removed anything under $1,000, kind of because I consider it immaterial. This one is just slightly over. RGI, the budget is 33,300. We're at 37,200. Parking fees, it's been posted. There's a couple parking fees there that should be posted together. Laundry income, almost to the dollar. Subsidy, almost to the dollar. So our total budget year to date, the budget was 227. We're at 237. That's always a good situation. So I've reordered this now. The next section is all kind of fixed expenses. First mortgage, we know what that is, $75,000. Property taxes, we have that amount to the dollar. Reserve fund contributions, there's just a little adjustment there, but again, it's under $1,000. Insurance, we're a little bit lower. And bad debts, we haven't had any bad debts. And just for the record, that's really good. In our industry, we're seeing post-COVID that our tenants are generally, in my industry, struggling to pay rents because of just the cost of groceries. For the lowest income, they're struggling the most. So this will be, right now we're 4 months into this year and 12 months into last year without any bad debts. So that's great. Yep, absolutely.
Oh, sorry. I reflect that as of today, we're at 10,000.
No, I'm talking bad debts, not arrears at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. Sorry, normally we do the balance sheet first. So, okay, I go back to my statement here. Okay, sorry, carrying on. Yeah, so bad debts means we posted. Like somebody's moved out, they owed us $3,200. We know we're not getting, we make it a bad debt at that point. Right now, Don is saying we're going to look at arrears. We have people owing us arrears, but we're hoping they'll catch up by the end of the year. We have gas here. The budget's $6,000 or $4,100, which is good. Hydro budget's $19,000 or $12,500, which is good. And water and sewer. I looked into that. I think there was an adjustment, maybe an accrual. I probably should have increased that a little bit, simply like done a accrual internally, because we're not going to be at $2,800 at this point of the year, but we are still ahead of schedule. I've got superintendent wages there because we have group insurance. So everybody wants to know he has group insurance, which is good to protect them for long-term benefits and all the other sundry items like glasses and drugs. Waste removal, that's a win. We're under the budget. Snow removal, I do apologize that the $6,600 budget, obviously to the right, would not be a traditional year date because January, February, March, and April were higher. So if you look at the 16,500 versus the to the right, the 19,999, we're probably on target for the year. We only get one payment in December. Dawn and I are both from Aurelia. We had terrible snow years, and I think Shelburne got a fair bit too, but it just depends how much offsite trucking it takes. Groundskeeping, we haven't expensed anything yet. Elevator maintenance, we have to pay that much, $4,500 a year just to check the oils and everything. General building, the budget's $12,000 or $11,159. Management fees almost to the dollar. Security and monitoring. Plumbing and heating, there's a nice win. The next two, like that column, so that's plumbing leaks, but I hate to say it out loud, but right now we are ahead of schedule. Painting and plastering, CPP, EAI. The bottom section here, I kind of put these in order of value. That's why these are in this order: telephone, meetings, other admin materials. You know, you kind of see how they kind of go down in value with the highest at the top. And then total expenses. So I'm showing a surplus of $22,000. Even if we're adjust water and sewage by $6,000, we're at $16,000 surplus so far year to date. Any questions there?
Bank charges.
Thank you. I'm sorry, was there a question?
Member Bernardo has one about bank charges.
Oh, bank charges. Bank charges. Sorry.
Near the bottom there, Trevor.
Yeah.
They're kind of looking high.
I actually have it open on my computer over here. If you give me, that's high. I'll look into it. I tried to have my computer ready to click on things, but I'm panicking. If you give me just half a second. Okay, if I use budget comparison.
Maybe the next meeting you can let us know.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I will. Thank you. I'm sorry, I can't get there that quickly. Trying to
Okay.
do a stream. Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay. Then we'll turn to the balance sheet, but I won't spend any time on the balance sheet. Ben Cole just went through it. There's no material changes from what Ben just presented. The one big news is we're about a year out from the end of the mortgage. Kind of exciting. I personally haven't done that in my life yet, but it will be a nice day, hopefully soon, to get my balance. You know, I'm just saying, but we will be on this one paid off in a year.
Excellent. Okay, can I have a motion to receive the financial? Mr. Wagner. All in favor? Third. Okay. Property
Okay,
management.
I'll just carry on. I'll carry on with the rest of the report. If you go back to page 7, we have to give an update always on our RGI versus market. So we do subsidize rent geared income units. The value is supposed to be 728 RGIs. We are on target. We were on target all last year. The front canopy and ramp has been replaced. It looks really good. We are getting the paving parking lot repaved very soon with COCHI money. Money from the county, the province, county, Simcoe, county and the province together. So that'll be nice. No further vacancies. We are not having many vacancies anywhere. Nice. That's a help for everybody. And then Donna has an update on tenant delinquency. You want to report that quickly, Donna?
Yes, so this was run off as of today. So we're currently around $10,000. And there is one person who is about 4,000 of that 10. We are in court, or actually going to court in a week. This person is interested in doing a payment plan with us on that amount. Then there's just 3 others that we have notice of terminations out for, but I don't foresee that there's going to be a problem. They've just fallen behind, and I'm sure that they'll catch up. It is really looking a lot better than it has.
Yeah.
That's
Read
all.
the no report. Yep.
Questions on that? Okay, I have a motion then to receive that report. Councilor Wade. Seconder. Favor. Great. Any new business, Trevor?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay. And next meeting.
September for our budget.
September 8th or September 27th?
8th to the 22nd.
22nd sounds fine.
Okay. All right. Nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. By Hall, seconded by Donato. Favor. Carried. All right. Thank you both.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank you.
see you in a few months.
Yes. Yep.
All right. On to the main event. Well, the regular council meeting to order at 6:51 and we will begin playing that. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Shelburne resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands, the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, Chippewa, and people of the Three Fires Confederacy. These traditional territories upon which we live, work, play, and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions, and it is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect past, present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways, and any disclosures of any interests. Okay. All right, can I have a motion then to approve the minutes from our May 12th council meeting? Seconded by Wagner. Discussion on those. All in favor? All right, on to public question period. Any questions from the public? Nice, okay. All right, we did have a presentation on the agenda. Mark Rogers was planning to attend to talk about accessible crosswalks, but we found out today that Mark wasn't able to join us. So I'm not sure if that's going to be rescheduled or, okay. While this is on the agenda though, I did want to take the opportunity because I think it's been a little while since we've had any kind of formal discussion or update as to the formal signalized crosswalk in front of town hall. And I plan to bring this up after Mark's presentation, but as early staff, they can bring back an update with some options for us to consider. I know there's still a number of valid concerns about the configuration of that crosswalk. Okay, good. Did you want a motion or just direction?
So I'll give a. For the first meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I still have some concerns. I think most of us do, and people I talk to. Well, it's maybe worth taking another look at. Any council inquiries? Jim's not here tonight.
We're looking at you, Walter, but.
Will is here.
I am.
And he's poised and ready to answer whatever you got.
Just. If I can make that thing inquiry. I noticed that the sidewalks are all painted where there's broken and cracked. When are we looking at airing some of the more egregious sidewalks?
We will put that RFP out hopefully in July, and then we'll have something done in August for the sidewalks.
Almost the end of the walking season. I'd rather see it go a little sooner than later.
So we still have to do one more assessment of the sidewalks, and then we try to kind of like prioritize those ones to put into the RFP as well, so.
Yeah, and I don't wanna push too hard, but. If we're gonna be putting it out closer to the winter rather than the summer, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Yeah, people do walk this time of the year and, those of us that don't have the ability to lift our feet as easily as some. Will end up tripping and may end up, in a position we don't want to be in. So if we can get it done sooner rather than later in the year, I think would be more beneficial. It is summer, people are gonna get walking, that's what we want people out walking, that's the whole intent of walk whole community, so. Have sidewalks so they're not in great shape, those times.
I think Denise wants to add something, and then I'm gonna throw in a second part to your question. When you're done talking it back, you give an update on the trails as well.
So, the Councilor Bernard's plan certainly understands the timing issue. One of the things that helps us though is when we don't have a long winter. In terms of getting up there to assess these priorities, we had extended winter this year. And because we have a limited budget, what we're trying to do is make sure that we look at what the most mandated areas are, that list has been created. It's paired with the budget, that we can issue the RFP. The challenge is that we try to guess what the challenges are for the year before. That might not be the priorities this year, so we'll certainly do our best to expedite this, whether we do faster or not. But I just wanted to give you a reason. It's been pretty cold until recently, and we also had a lot of rain. So it's just one of those unfortunate timing issues. So that's sort of the background of why. Probably thinking, why haven't we had the RFP issued already and getting ready to start? That's the reason.
I'll be honest with you. Trying to get that budget up every year because I know it's very, very good. The amount of sidewalks we have and they're growing. This community. Big year. Look at realistic next year. And if we keep taking sidewalks. We're gonna have.
Trail.
Oh, okay.
Just an update on the surfacing.
Sure, yeah, Friday is expected, JP reached out today actually to say they'll finish Friday if weather permits, they're gonna start paving trails for us. So
How long roughly do they anticipate it's gonna, I mean, what,
they think they can get it done in one day,
really?
optimistic on that a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Let's hope they can, as long as like they say weather permits on Friday. So, should be better.
Good.
Yes, just quickly. The street sweepings.
Yeah,
Is there a second round at all scheduled, or at least for some certain areas, like where? Right now, there's a dental office that's under construction, so there's no parking. So all of the patients and the staff are parking in the adjacent streets. So just wanna maybe make sure that some of those streets are kind of hit a second time, just because there's been cars in the way.
so we will be doing another patrol out to see where they need to do that second pass, and then we will notify our street sweeping company to come back and get those areas again.
Perfect.
Because they had mentioned to us too that there are areas that are hard for them to get to because
Yeah.
cars parked, so they will be coming
those-
back.
Yeah, like Robert and like probably Second Ave, maybe even Fourth Ave, William,
For
they've
sure.
all been kind of overloaded with some cars.
And then, yeah, and then an update to that is they're supposed to be done zone 2 today. And then going to zone 1, hopefully starting tomorrow.
Okay.
they weren't in last Thursday, Friday due to the rain that we had, so it's been a little bit behind last week.
And then line painting should start or
Right.
already has.
So Friday, we're hoping as well to get Main Street all sound done for the straight lines, and
Yes.
then hopefully we can start on zone 3, very shortly to get those lines done too.
Perfect.
Weather permits, yeah.
Okay.
Friday will be a busy day.
Pardon me?
I said Friday will be a busy day.
Yeah, it's gonna be a busy day here, for sure.
So I also noticed this morning on Facebook, there was a sort of a post with regarding some excess trash that runs along the sound barrier fence of Stella Jones.
Okay.
Who would necessarily be responsible for that sort of?
Is it
area?
on like the Highland side? Is that?
It's hard to, the pictures, it didn't really show, I wasn't 100% sure. I think it's like on like our side, like the town side kind of thing, and then, but I'm not sure. So I wasn't sure if that was something like they should report to, bylaws, standard property standards kind of thing, or like is it?
Probably the
Works that goes and
developer.
cleans that up?
Bill, we haven't assumed that development yet, right? So.
Sorry, through your worship, I saw the Facebook post
Okay.
today, and so the rail, the trail bed, that rail corridor, you can see there, that is what kind of.
Okay.
So when you have no garbage, you were to you.
To the OPP or like, I guess maybe in county to like, would they be responsible for coming, like sending their staff to come and kind of clean it up then?
Correct, if residents want to submit a bylaw complaint, we'll
Okay.
then contact the county and let them know the issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
alright, that's perfect, just cause it looked like there was quite a bit, so I'm like, I know I wouldn't wanna look at that either, so.
I didn't see it. Was it somebody that had dumped garbage or was it
No, I
just
think
garbage that's blown?
I think it's like, just, yeah, like blown and whatnot, and then the snow melts, and then you get all that, from it. Plus there's like a big, like, kinda, like plastic coating covering or something, maybe that blew off wood. Something like that, I don't think anyone was like dumping there, I think it's just sort of accumulated over the winter. Right, great, thank you.
That for private file. When does property standards, is that something that has to be complaint driven, or is it something that the bylaws are actually, as they're going by, on and acting on?
So what we've done, through your worship, we have, instead of the property standards, we have clean yards bylaw. So clean yards bylaw is proactive enforcement. They are very busy at the moment.
Yes.
And clean yards is grass as well as garbage, right?
Grass, garbage, derelict vehicles,
Putting out, additional garbage, large garbage is not picked up, for example.
correct, yeah, they are reminded of large garbage days, how to call in, request large garbage pickup. Large garbage is not supposed to be put to the curb till the night before. That is proactive.
Okay. Which I notice have a bad habit of one not. Or I shouldn't say renters, may not be the renters themselves, it may be the property owners.
Right.
One, the yard doesn't seem to get the grass cut very often. Or at all, and secondly, the renters have a tendency to put large garbage on, it's out there, they should stay there for quite a while.
Yes, that's the difficulty is reaching those property owners that do not live in town
Yeah,
and be in compliance.
yeah.
Okay. Wires. All right, first up is the CAO's report regarding fire services.
Let me just interject, Mayor. Based on the importance of this report that's coming forward, and there's only 4 of us here, I would like to defer this until the next meeting so that we can move the full council discussion.
That's a good idea. You'd like to make a motion for that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to defer.
Okay, is there a seconder for that?
Something.
Favor? It's carried. Okay, so we'll bump that to the June 2nd.
For point of clarification, also on it's with the date specific, I'll adjust the report to June 2nd and then bump so reference to May 28th will bump out to June 5th, and then the reference to July 6th will bump out to June 23rd. And then I'll advise the other municipalities that are represented on the board, so we can share this with them, that adjustments being made, and I'll be back for you next Monday.
data a week on to each time. Okay. All right, the second item is a bylaw, to designate certain portions of highways as community safety zones within the town. Jennifer, do you want to speak to that at all?
Through your worship, give a verbal update, so the previous community safety zone bylaws did not provide significant detail as to locations and places of the roads. And so through the automated speed enforcement program, this is part of the process, we have to provide some more detailed information as to certain sections of roads. The community safety zones remain the same as previously communicated through the bylaws. We just had to split up each section into smaller portions.
Questions on that? Questions about it?
How does the premier have a recently, a bit of state of each concerning, community safety zones and the amount of safety zones, community safety zones that I suppose forward is that,
So through your worship, my interpretation of that media release last week was that he was requesting additional signage, so the act currently has signage requirements in there.
That's what I kind of thought, but I was just.
We are required to give 90 days notice that a speed camera is coming, we are required to also post notice once the speed camera is live, that there is a live active camera on site.
He also made comments that we are just throwing up community safety zones willy-nilly as communities and. I don't believe there being comment back that we don't. It's about these people don't put up willy-nilly safety, community safety zones, we put them up because they're required.
Why would that be a bad thing?
Maybe through your worship, I think we've been very clear in stating that it's to change driver behavior. We're not looking to for a revenue generating model, we're looking to change driver behavior and create safety zones.
With respect to the premier, I think this is squarely one of those issues that's best dealt with at the local level, but I think local municipalities are probably in a far better position to determine which areas ought to be community safety zones than police park.
Yeah.
So I don't anticipate the province is going to be dictating, but
Just to add, what Jennifer said, compare, in the determination of what we're gonna be looking at, we had brought a report to council back in December of last year with the data from our coverage on the speeding challenges that we had. So we have those percentiles, we indicated that this is evidence that we have unfortunately a number of roads where traffic speed is being not adhered to even closely. And by virtue of that, we went through the whole process to bring in automated speed enforcement. And that's why, given the breadth of the challenges that we have, which residents have echoed to you, that they're upset with it, gratefully so. That's why we're going with 5 units each way on a number of streets, because the magnitude of our problem is felt in the number of cameras we have. If it was insignificant, you'd probably see us being a community of our size too. But we had shown you that speeds were excessive and the number of streets under which those were happening were excessive. It's not just school zones, it was cut throughs, it was main corridors, so I think we have a very solid response back from the province if the number of game saving results that we have is challenged. Yeah.
And one final question, there's a few coming out after July, ended up. That it's regarding school zones being reduced to 30 kilometers, are we going forward that idea?
Through your worship, definitely review and research on possibilities of that. And bring forward a staff report, including the bylaw, if that sounds right.
Yeah, my understanding is it's chemical wide. That increasing the school zones from that to the.
yeah. To Denise's point, I mean, thinking back to that original traffic with the staff on here for us, I would suggest at least that, we've probably done far more than most municipalities in terms of, building the empirical evidence to show that it's needed. I'm sure there may be some examples of municipalities who are just sticking these cameras up in areas where they anecdotally think there might be a problem, but are literally years worth of data sets here to show that there is a problem, and then drill down even further to determine where those problems are most prevalent. So I mean, for whatever it's worth, I am not going to lose any sleep tonight or any other night going forward, and the fact that we're implementing this and where we're, it's all based on sound data, so.
As I said, we wouldn't need it if, you know, drivers took responsibility and followed the actual speed limits, and we might not need it if we can change the behavior.
That's the,
So, we would, you know, we would reduce those, if not entirely, if we see a change in statistics.
Nice to think we do have the. Right.
Done our
absolutely. Okay, I have a resolution then to adopt bylaw. By Councilor Donato, seconded by Councilor Whitener. All in favor? Carried. All right, any notices of motion? Not a notice of motion, but I think I'll bring it up now, just because it seems like as good a time as any. I did ask staff to prepare a further mayoral directive under the strong mayor's powers. So as I mentioned at the last meeting, in addition to the earlier two decisions that I have issued, I'm going to sign tonight a directive. Essentially is asking our CAO and our treasurer to prepare the draft budget for 2026 in essentially the same fashion that we have in years past. So that this, and Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of the new strong merit powers that can't be delegated.
Right.
But I can give direction to staff in terms of what this mayor's budget is going to look like. And my commitment to all of you at the last meeting, which I fully intend to honor, is that we will make the process look as much like it has looked in previous years as possible. Both in terms of council input as well as public input. So I'll sign that tonight, and then I think that saves staff having to send out notice of that decision. They should notice
And these directives have to be done every year, right? Like,
every term.
or every
right?
term? Every term,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if it's a yearly thing or.
Communications, anything on that list that strikes me with Councilor Donato?
Number 7 and number 8, I guess they both relate to each other, basically on Bill 17.
Yeah.
Is there any chance of getting someone, either Watson or Hanson to come up and maybe give us a bit of then the bill? So we try to read through it, understand what we're losing, what we're gaining.
Steve's gonna be here at the next meeting, right? Yeah. Our planners at the next meeting, place, maybe that. Chance to ask any questions, or we could even ask Steve to give a bit of a high level overview.
So, we were prepared to bring you some the impacts of this. There's a number of fast changing pieces of legislation. Bill 5 is another one, and it's a motion. We have met with our, Preston. We have had a meeting trying to coalesce the impacts on these changes, especially as it relates to development charges, knowing that our DCs are quite low compared to many of them. So certainly, we will come back, and I guess we need to customize it for the situation that Shelburne is in. Because obviously our development charge come forward, not that other resettlement, there won't be many DCs collected if our development force doesn't proceed, which is contingent and 100% reliant on expansion. So there's some things within here, yes, they're magnitude of the changes is drastic, but how they impact us is going to be contingent upon our development scenario of the next few years.
Right, just before we jump from that one, if anybody's interested in county staff, provided some reports in last Thursday's county agenda on both Bill 5 and 17. So if you are interested, there's some additional materials there in that agenda.
Bill 5. I think. Put part of the motions for the town hall, Bill 5. And, I'm looking for Bill 2. Larry, someone, second.
Your worship, Councilor Shardy, brought forward a notice of motion at the last meeting. It commented on Bill 5, if you go back to your mid-set of minutes. Motion.
I already brought forward a motion.
Remember we waived the
Yeah.
notice, we considered it.
Yeah.
Back in May.
So basically do the same thing, I guess, right?
Whatever I want, we can do it again.
More voices against it, the better.
And Orange Bill was much the same as well.
Okay.
Officer. I see people. Okay, can I have a motion then to receive the remaining items that the mayor hall sent by. That's right. Favor. Carried. All right, motion for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Donato, seconded by Hall. Favor. There, and a motion to adjourn. So right there, seconded by Councilor Donato. Favor.
All right.
Right, well, just the one time.